Okay, hi, we are Group F, and today we are going to be presenting our project.
So the first section of the article was called Let All Families Know That They Are Welcome. Basically, why this is important is because it's just important to make sure that families feel welcome, accepted on a regular basis, and this is even more important for immigrant families, and that is because a lot of them feel unwelcomed or sometimes scared to attend school due to local immigration enforcement activities. So some ways that you can get started with this topic is to make it visually known that everyone's welcomed. Some other kinds of outreach are informational meetings, phone calls, working with the community, and public service announcements. Some useful resources. There's a article called Commentary in These Scary Times. Here's the Welcome Back to School letter I wish I received. And then in the yellow box of my article, it just shared about how some school districts have seen attendance drop when there's been immigration enforcement activity reported in the local community.
Okay, next was my section, which was how to create a welcoming school environment, which basically just focused on ways that you can create a welcoming environment for families and students that might be new to the US and its school system, and just that it's important for those involved in the school to kind of realize that the impression that they make on these new students and families will likely stay with them for the entirety of their educational career in the US. And a few of these ways to do this include removing barriers to engagement, communicating in families' languages, celebrating students' countries and cultures, and engaging in a school-wide and district-wide communities. And all of these just kind of make them feel wanted and accepted and give them more reasons to show up to school. And then on the next slide, I just had some resources. There was a resource section that just provided helpful tips, one that had a toolkit just helping you figure out how to welcome these families, and lastly, a video explaining why this is important.
So my topic was get to know your students and families. This section basically emphasized the importance of building a close relationship with your students' family, and in doing so, develop this relationship will actually help in establishing trust and respect. It also creates an environment that is open and honest, allowing parents to feel more comfortable about talking about issues or concerns that they have regarding their child. And you could build this relationship through talking with a family or finding ways to interact with them in like a larger setting, or putting yourself into neighborhoods or communities. And then I a few resources that the article provided. And then there was a list of videos that went on to this with the topic, and one of them was home visits with immigrant students, and this basically explained the importance of welcoming families of English language learners and immigrant students. The second video is getting to know your ELL and immigrant students. This video talked about paying attention to them, and in doing so will help better understand whether they're struggling or not. And then next slide. Yeah, so the third video is one's principal's journey to a refugee camp, and it basically is just a principal talking about her trip to Kenya and how it allowed her staff and herself to basically sympathize with students, and it ultimately changed like their perspective and how they like taught them. And then the yellow text box basically just talked about how immigrant families were a bit hesitant about telling the school about the language that they spoke, because they were the stigma that they faced at home. So once the school learned that these students were actually speaking languages, they actually started to understand the influence of language development within each student.
So the fourth section in the article was called Learn More About Special Populations of Students. So basically, why this is important. Basically, it's just important to learn about the background of each student so that we can help them succeed, and then we can also help provide the help if it's needed. And so here are some students that we need to work harder to get to know. Refugee students, students with interrupted education, children of migrant farm worker, um, unaccompanied children and youth, and students displaced by natural disasters. Sometimes to get started, you can look for clues in your kids' past experiences, build a relationship with them, learn more about the context of the students' experiences, and then it's always just important to keep in mind that not all students are going to open up right away, so just be patient. And some useful resources I added. The first one was called Special Population, English Language Learners and Immigrant Students. That one just kind of shared different ways to help different students. The second one was Getting to Know Your ELLs, and it just shared 6 different strategies. And then the third was called Refugees and Displaced Students, the story behind the story. And that one just shared what teachers can do and just some like useful tips.
So my section was identify students and family strengths. So this overall section was how to make a connection with the students' families by learning their overall positive outcomes. And by building that connection, it shows interest with the parents, involvement is received, and the students and parents are held at a place of importance. To make this work, the strength of the students and parents are identified and celebrated within the school and program community. Also, family accomplishments or challenges that are overcome while caring for their children are taken into consideration. The parents know their children the best, and the children know their parents the best. By asking them what their skills, interests, and talents are, gives us further understanding into their relationship at home. By using an asset-based language chart that I included the link to, teachers can find student strengths and incorporate historical figures, social figures, and programs they relate to based on their ethnic and cultural background into the lesson so that they can see what they have contributed to society. In this, I included 2 useful resources that I found important. And its strategy, look for the ways that ELL's parents can participate and volunteer. Another one is using a strengths-based approach with ELL's, supporting students living with trauma, violence, and chronic stress. So I included also a few descriptions of the videos that I saw. One video is building upon student strengths, and this is just to see what the students do have versus what they don't. The second video is getting to know students through parent letters. In this video, the teacher assigns parents to write her letters with what they want from their children for the school year, and just a few details about the children themselves. My third video is Our Parents Value Education and Children's Teachers. So this is just about Diana Al-Qadi, and she talks about other immigrant students and the importance that teachers hold. In my yellow boxes, there was Roots and Wings, and this is about Dr. Sandra Duvall and her experiences as an immigrant from Haiti. And in the other one, We Do Gardens, is about a teacher organized group that call for a meeting and the parents don't show up, and the only response that they give is, we don't do meetings, we do gardens.
Okay, so there isn't a lot of time left, so I'll summarize my answer, but the content that we found as a group most helpful was the Let All Families Know That They Are Welcome section, because before you can do anything at all, first and foremost, parents and families need to feel welcome and wanted and safe, or else you've already started off on the wrong foot. And like I said earlier, a bad first impression can make for a bad education in general.
And I just listed 3 recommended resources that I thought were really important. And I thought they were important because, well, they were essential in engaging families and students from different cultures and backgrounds. And by acknowledging each student's individuality, their families, and the interaction between teacher, parent, and students, it helps create an environment that is best suited for growth and development.
And the final question was, how did this article change the way you think about welcoming families? I think this article has expanded our views and options about how to make them feel welcome. We know that people come from different backgrounds, and many parents want children to go to school, but they don't know how they can help. As teachers, we can have translators help make copies of handouts in different languages and involve the students and parents' culture into the classroom. It is important that we make everyone feel welcome, and because at the end of the day, what our main goal is to have the students succeed in the long-term area, and it is better for the students' educational, emotional, and mental areas.